Dr. Manas Tripathi from XLRI Delhi NCR campus. So I think all of us are aware of the topic of the discussion. The topic of the discussion is organizations are hiring innovators, but at the same time they expect them to behave in certain ways, right? So very, very relevant topic in today's time, because all of us know the importance of innovations in today's time, right? Because technologies are coming up every day. They are replacing the previous technologies. Like we have seen that emergence of generative AI. Now we have started talking about artificial general intelligence. So we know the importance, and organizations understand the importance of innovations. But ironically, some of what is happening with them is that though they understand the importance, but they expect their employees to behave in certain ways, to think in certain style, or to work in the existing rigid system. So how do you look at this situation? What are your thoughts on this? Maybe you can just throw some light on this from your own examples, from your organizations. So let's just explore this dimension and just explore that, innovation, conformity, paradox, I would say. So let's have that. It's a kind of very open-ended discussion. There won't be any sequence that we'll be following. If you have any point, you can just come up with that point. You can add that, right? So let's start. What's your thought on that?
Maybe I can start with an analogy. And I'm looking outside. There's a beautiful restaurant outside. The service is being prepared. So there was a time when you used to say that let's hire diverse talent, and one of the big reasons for hiring diverse talent was that they could come in and could problem solve better, could innovate better. And then used to put them into what was called a melting pot, right? And what would happen? Everything would get squished, everything would taste exactly the same. That's what would end up happening. I think the need of the hour is get diverse ingredients, get diverse talent, but make a salad out of that rather than a melting pot, so that every single element retains its flavor, its texture, its color, and is bound by a culture, right? And we spoke about culture a little while back, and that culture could be of culture of innovation. But I think to your point, getting diverse talent, getting people coming from different backgrounds, getting people who we expect to come and problem solve and innovate, and then say you got to look exactly like the person sitting next to each other, is basically killing the whole process of hiring. You don't need that. Then we need to hire exactly the people that you and I are. Right? So that's an analogy that I would go with.
Yeah, right. I think we were discussing that while recruiting the candidate, we expect them to kind of think out of the box. But the moment they start questioning or kind of challenging the existing things, we start believing that this person is no culture fit.
I would say it's two points here. One is you hired that individual to design. I'm just taking an example as an analogy and say you want him to design a necklace, but then he wants to design a sari. Obviously, so though he is innovative, and he's done a brilliant sari, but then your DNA is you want him to do a necklace. So from that perspective, obviously you would try to make him, direct him in the right direction, in the right this thing. Second is, I think also the fact that when you hire an innovator, you need to give him the independence. I'm assuming now that he is designing the necklace, but then you need to give him the independence to say whatever is your, or give him a parameter and say, I want a necklace of gold, 50,000 rupees. Give him those kind of boundaries so he's more clearer. I think it's a misnomer where we say that we want him to fit him. I think when from an organization point of view, when you say that, okay, these are your boundaries, that I want a necklace for 50,000 rupees, probably the innovator feels I am being, made to fit in. So what is a fit in for an innovator versus what is a fit in from an organization point of view are very different. Third is the independence to that individual or the team. I've seen where the design department would report into a head of manufacturing. Right now, manufacturing guy probably doesn't have the design ability, and he would look at it from a cost perspective. However, when the same design department was made to report to the head of marketing or the sales and marketing or to the CEO, the entire dynamic changed. So it's also a question of perspective. It's also a question of where do you feel that this department or this individual fits in. So these are, I think, very, very important points here.
The difference between innovation and being a gypsy, right? I mean, organizations don't want gypsies, or they don't want people who will just come and kind of reinvent the wheel. Because at times innovation is not just about doing different things, but doing things differently. That's what you're looking at, right? So I think every organization, in order to stay competitive, would want innovation, breed innovation, and they would want a outside in view on things. But at the same time, there's a governance frame that you need to tap that innovation in the best interest of the organization, rather than kind of going into a different direction altogether, right? So yes, you have to breed a culture of innovation. Yes, you have to bring talent outside in. Yes, you have to let people be entrepreneurs. We discussed this in our previous panel and this thing. But at the same time, what is the broader vision as to why you exist and what are you planning to do has to be spelled out very clearly, and you need to govern that very well. So while you're creating entrepreneurial hubs within the organization to create centers of excellence, it's very important that as an organization you define that, look, this is the frame, these are the checks and balances, and this is your playground to play in, as opposed to being a gypsy jumping from one playground to the other and the third and the fourth, right?
To make any change happen, and when organizations are getting a change leader, then the status quo needs to get challenged.
Right.
And that's where a lot of resistance comes in, whether it's a process, whether it's a new way of doing a business. And a lot of disruption happen, a lot of jobs get redundant, and that's not comfortable. At least in the large complex enterprises, it's not comfortable, it's very painful. And the guy who's leading it will got a lot of pressure, a lot of bashing, and it's not a good place to be in. So we expect innovation to happen, but we don't want a change. And if you are making that innovation hub, then you have to support it. You can't treat it as a stepchild treatment. At least that's very sure.
Maybe as a branding exercise, right? You just brand like that.
Yeah, it can't be a tick in the box.
Yeah.
You have to be committed to it.
Committed, obviously.
Because most of the organizations have peaked, and in the world of multiple constraints that we have these days, and the way we have new topics emerging like climate, sustainability, and so on, and to make things democratic, and there are issues of supply chain equity in that respect. So innovation will be the game changer, or is the game changer. At times we think innovation only in terms of tech, but innovation is non-tech also, isn't it? When you bring an innovative philosophy or innovative supply chain solution and so on, I think where innovation, the culture of, as organizations or as management professionals, we are required to, make innovation thrive in the organization. So who gets rewarded when innovation succeeds is very important. In many organizations, the top guy takes the credit, in some organizations. And when innovation fails, who get blamed? I think these two things are the cultural things, and if they are resolved, I think...
Sorry, I think I'll build on her. Sorry, I'm interrupting, and I'll build on what she said. Let me look at an example of Mahindra cars, right, automobiles. You see Mahindra probably before Thar, or, look at the organization, same organization. They revamp the entire design, they revamp the entire philosophy, and look at where the organization is. Similarly, Tata cars, right? You look at how when Tata started, you look at the earlier automobile, and you see the entire dynamics which has changed. Now, and I'm actually building on what she's saying. The entire DNA of the organization now is, and I'm very proud that these are Indian car manufacturers. They are competing, right? They are competing and they are winning. You look at, and I'm taking another example which all of us use in Delhi, Uber, right? And it's a global brand. But you look at a BluSmart, Indian brand built ground up, fantastic service, absolutely fantastic service. He's taking the pants off from the large global players, and I think he innovated on the service. He understood that there is a pain point from an organization point, from a consumer point of view, and he built an entire business model. The business model is the service never gets cancelled. Fantastic. Now that to me is the benefits of an innovation, right? So sorry, I'm just building on what you said.
So just to add to his point, Tata Cars that you spoke, so earlier Tata Cars was headed by a single individual. At some point in time, the senior leaders decided that they will segregate the passenger cars and the commercial car segment. And that led to a whole lot of a transformation. While that may not have been innovation in the true sense, but it was disruptive thinking. The other bit I would say is, when you expect your teams or people, you hire for disruptive thinking is, in their minds, there is always a fear of failure. What if I fail? What will happen to me? I think that aspect has to be taken care of by the organization, because if you're hiring them to think differently, act differently, come up with something different, then that fear of failure should be taken care of. It's only then probably they can come forward with their best.